Hello, everyone. I am Fabian with ChristosAvatar.com, and today we will be talking about Inner Earth, which is the idea and the concept that a secret subterranean kingdom exists inside the Earth, described as a mysterious land of ancient spiritual races. Now, the Inner Earth goes by different names and has been described by different spiritual belief systems, even many, different well-respected scientists and mathematicians, researchers, explorers, okay? Even the government and military has disclosed testimonies of this mythical land, such as that of the Nazis, and their German secret societies and their scientists, and by naval officer Admiral Richard Byrd. Have you ever heard this name before, Holy Ones? You should, because as some believe that the U.S. government is already aware of Inner Earth because of him and covering up the facts. Actually, they told him to be quiet, did they not? So the Inner Earth is a big deal if all these people are talking about it, understand, and has been talked about from a variety of different perspectives. And today, we will be giving our perspective on the Inner Earth, which is an Indigo Child perspective, and this knowledge that comes from the Law of One. The Law of One and the innerchristos. So we will also be debunking a lot of the popular ideas and beliefs about the Inner Earth. And we will go into much more detail and explain advanced technical concepts that will help you understand what is the Inner Earth, such as what is holographic universe? Like if you're putting your consciousness into this idea, holographic universe. So what are dimensions? Time continuums, parallel Earth. What is the Bridge Zone Project? Stargates. That's an interesting one. Portals and wormholes and particle pulsation and Merkaba fields. Only when understanding these concepts will you get a better understanding of what is Inner Earth. Otherwise, it will, continue to be a mystery. And isn't that what we're doing now? Trying to understand this world, this land? Okay? When we grow up in school and learn some basic geology of what's inside the Earth, such as how the layer structure of the Earth is divided into 4 major components. The crust. The crust, you've heard of that. And what about the smallest layer? That is the smallest layer. This, by the way, is 1% of the complete depth of the Earth. 1%. That's all that makes up. Anywhere from 30 to 40 miles deep. But the mantle, this is the largest layer made of silicate rock. 1,800 miles deep. That's a significant portion, a major portion. And the outer core, because there's 2 parts of the core, but the outer core, the second layer, largest layer. And it's a liquid iron and nickel. And that's 1,400 miles deep. And then there's the inner core. It's solid iron and nickel, 800 miles deep. So this gives you like a basic idea of how big each layer is. So, kind of like drawn to scale. And if you add those numbers together, what do you get? A little bit over 4,000 miles. Okay? Visualize 4,000 miles. So when people say they are going down into some of the secret subterranean areas to reach the Inner Earth portals, well, please understand that we are talking about this tiny 1% that makes up the 40-mile layer of the Earth's crust. So this is what all the activities going on. You know, out of this tiny portion of the earth, 40 miles, what is the deepest hole ever made? You know, people have said before we should dig a deep hole through the earth to get to China. So, how far do you think we've gotten so far? I mean, have we anyone come close to getting to China? Uh, what's the deepest artificial hole mankind has ever made? You could probably Google that real quick. 7.5 miles deep. Now, I mean, think about that. 7.5 miles just out of 4,000 plus miles, right? The Kola super deep borehole, as they call it, it is the deepest hole that mankind has ever dug. So 7.5 miles deep, a little bit deeper than the what's called the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest oceanic trench on Earth, 6.825 miles deep. So, this goes to like demonstrate that the supposed deep hole in Earth and all of the subterranean tunnels and deep caverns, underground bases, underground cities, and civilizations are all within this 1% of the Earth's crust. So you see the diagram and see how much is only the Earth's crust of all these secret things going on. So it is important to have this visual in your mind. It's like as we explore the topic of the inner Earth, and as you think about the definition of inner Earth, excuse me, because now our spiritual system is called the Law of One, which is related to what's called the innerchristos teachings, or you can call inner Templar, teachings. And Templar is a good word because it's talking about the templates of the divine templates of what makes up our manifest reality. You have a divine template, beloved one. And we refer to the inner earth by another name. The subterranean lands were originally called Ar-Ratath and later Agartha. And since about 3,000 years ago has been referred to as Agartha. Now, Agartha is a continent of the inner earth because we've heard different names from different spiritual systems, and so we have to refer and make it distinctive that the Agartha is the inner earth, and the inner earth is also called Shamballah by the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, who consider it to be like a spiritual kingdom that's said to exist, somewhere underground between the Himalayan Mountains and the Gobi Desert. And Shamballah is a city or area like not a continent like Agartha, it's a city in Agartha. So in Shambhala, all of the citizens have achieved enlightenment. So it is the embodiment of Tibetan Buddhist perfection. That is the reason for one of its other names, what people would call the Pure Land. It is also known as Shangri-La and Paradise and even Eden. Interesting. Now, inner earth has also been associated with hollow earth. Now, this isn't very good. I'm sorry. It's the concept proposing, the planet Earth is entirely hollow or contains at least a substantial interior space, which is false information. You could call that a psyop put out by the shadow government, similar to the false creed of flat Earth. So you hear hollow Earth or flat Earth, run the other way. This is the indigo perspective. So the hollow earth theory is used to confuse, distort the truth of the inner earth concept, or trying to, distort Agartha or Shambhala, demonize it, make it look like something's wrong with it or bad or corrupt. Because inner earth is one of the biggest secrets, and those in power don't want you to know about it. So what do? They create something comical and ridiculous, like the hollow earth theory, to throw you off of the stargates and portals and the inner earth truth. So I won't be saying that the earth is hollow on, or on the inside. Okay? Don't agree. Understand? We explain, we expose, we show. So there's, no sun in the middle of our planet. Not like you understand, anyways. There's something about the core, that's a different story, But in truth, the inner earth has everything to do with dimensions, time continuums, stargates, and particle pulsation. But you're not going to hear that anywhere else, because most people following this, topic of inner earth only consider the lie of the hollow earth psyop. It confuses you, so you don't understand. You don't know. This is their agenda. It doesn't mean you drill down and you find it and just come out the other side. What people don't realize is that from inner earth is located in another dimension. Specifically, you could say 3.5 dimension, a certain specific time continuum. So that's 3.5, right? And you have to access stargates or portals to get there to inner earth. The hollow earth psyop doesn't talk about portals, does it? No, it talks about going down into, some giant hole entrances at the north or south pole. What? That's interesting. Or down secret cave entrances and you can find this mythical land. No, sorry. It's in another dimension. And the hollow earth psyop is also used to attempt to debunk Admiral Richard Byrd's testimony of inner earth. Okay, this guy is the real deal. He was a recipient of the Medal of Honor. What I'm trying to say is he's definitely a good testimony, someone who you could and believe in his integrity, because he got the Medal of Honor. It's the highest honor for valor given by the United States. And Admiral Byrd was the famous naval officer and explorer who stated before his death, he said there existed a land beyond the North Pole. Okay, it was an enchanted continent in the sky, a permanent mystery of Earth. Quotes. He was a pioneering American aviator, the first, to fly over the North Pole. I mean, that's a cool record if you think about it. I know he was a polar explorer, the North and the South Pole. And you can watch actually some of his historical black and white videos of him on YouTube. And he was an organizer of like a polar, like logistics, like an explorer of also Antarctica. I mean, this guy was legit. And he had many like aircraft flights in which he was served as a navigator and expedition leader across the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it's kind of like some type of an Indiana Jones, like multiple skill sets. He could like every time he'll have some new stories. So what he's done, what expedition or so. But he announced in February of 1947, and what else happened in 1947? And just before venturing with his U.S. Navy task force into a 1,700-mile journey across the North Pole, or you would say beyond the North Pole, to let's be more accurate, because he said, like to see the land beyond the pole. That area beyond the pole is the center of the great enigma, he said. Interesting. And, so this is his diaries, and the truth will come out. So they could shut him up before, but the truth is going to come out, has come out, understand. And Admiral Byrd's flight over and beyond the North Pole, he reported over the aircraft radio that beneath was not snow. This is the North Pole, no snow. But huge areas of land with mountains and forests and vegetation, huge lakes and rivers with animals that, he even said something about a mammoth. He saw a mammoth. It wasn't just normal. So it's like, what's going on? And as he is crossing over into this new unknown land, well, his radio stopped working. So the aircraft navigation instruments were like malfunctioning. This is what's going on. They're just spinning around. His gyroscope was oscillating back and forth, and he started having like problems with both his magnetic and like gyro compasses. He's got a co-pilot, and they're like tripping out on this. It was also daytime, but he couldn't see the sun anymore. Where's the sun? Well, how is it lit? How is this lit up? You know, so there's some definitely, they know something strange is happening. And up ahead, he started to see like a large shimmering city pulsating with rainbow hues of color. Like, and it was made of crystal material. When he got closer, he thought this is impossible. After this, he suddenly was being escorted by two UFOs off to his port and his starboard wings. And they were close enough he could like see like markings, and it was like a type of swastika. So his plane was like started to like no longer be in his control. It's like the engines stopped running. Okay. And the aircraft is under some strange force. So they're not, crashing or anything. So it's like, I don't know if you were in this situation, if you would be in fear or you would be in awe or you would be in shock, maybe. I don't know. So, the plane was flying on its own. It seemed to him like the UFOs are now controlling the plane's flight by some like invisible control, of course. And then a message came over his radio in English voice that had a slight like Nordic or German accent. So, welcome, Admiral, to our domain. What? That's not my commanding officer. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Uh, Relax, Admiral. You're in good hands. So basically, to make a long story short, he was basically met by like several tall men with blonde hair, but they were peaceful, they were cordial, and they just basically just escorted him to their leader. Um, a lot of things would be coming into your mind right now, but there's been lots of such similar stories of going into a place like this. And so Admiral Byrd was just another one that was happened to be famous, you could say, and very resourceful, but he just was given a sobering message for him to deliver to mankind, on the surface world. That's what we are. Upon Admiral Byrd's return to Washington on March 11th, he was interviewed intently by top security forces, of course, of course. You could almost imagine he expected that, and a medical team. He was like placed under strict control and ordered to remain silent, and on the behalf of humanity, supposedly, right? So but he was a military man. He had to comply. So, but because of his diaries, we got this interesting report from a very important person who's legit. So, some of the entrances to Gartha are known now, like the Taos Cave of Ecuador and the Gobi Desert of Mongolia, and under the Great Pyramid of Giza, through the Iguazu Falls of Argentina and Brazil, and Mammoth Cave of Kentucky, USA, Manaus, Brazil, Mato Grosso, Brazil, Mount Pomio, Italy, under Mount Shasta, California. You probably heard of that one, the Agartha city of Telos, they pronounce it, and Rama near Jaipur, India, and of course through the North Pole and the South Pole. So there is more, of course, but these are like the most well known. Yeah, I had to hydrate myself, sorry. And it's like there's all kinds of books, there's all kinds of testimonies about this kind of things. And back in the 20s and through the 30s, it was the Germans and their secret societies. They were like doing like a channeling, trying to like contact groups from other worlds. And like some of the secret societies were already well into like going on expeditions all across the world. I mean, these people were very serious and intent on finding what they were looking for. Looking for ancient text and relics, and they wanted to be able to piece information together and to create technology from, like modern technology from, because they were aware They were into the occult. They were aware of, what's possible beyond people just in the physical world. They're considering the other worlds and the other energies of those worlds. Excuse me. So they were scouring the earth for texts, like ancient texts from the east that had talked about ancient Vimana and other advanced flying craft, and they hoped that they could, get information to engineer their own craft. And so the Germans had made contact with, they were messing around channeling ETs, so they finally contacted like a group of Nordic-looking beings, and that presented themselves as alien, as ETs. And so they were actually, the truth is they were an ancient humans breakaway civilization that had like existed under the Himalayas for tens of thousands of years. I mean, now we're starting to draw a picture of what is this inner earth. It's a network of cities connected under the ground. It's like this race had actually built out a very sophisticated high-tech civilization, and they called themselves the Agartha network. So there's lots of testimonies about this network of cities. And so it's not just one type of people or race as well, of course. It's like another world with different continents, different people. So, they had a space fleet or space program and that they called the Silver Fleet. So this advanced race is one of the reasons how the secret society Germans evolved into like this breakaway civilization. They're much more beyond than any of us, but they're not the only breakaway civilization. But that's the ones that we're familiar with. But that topic is another whole video that we'll be making. So now, but to understand the inner earth, we need to understand stargates. I mean, there's like a natural stargate systems, natural, organic, part of creation that are part of the known universe, traversable wormholes, local like distortions of time space that we call portals. Now, these are like a natural gateways. It's built in, and well, how come we don't all know about these? That's a good question. Because these gateways they travel from like point to point, from planet in the, one planet to another planet in the universe. It's part of a network. You call it like torsion fields, and also there's this like electromagnetic filaments, that kind of they connect directly to their, this to the sun, their local sun, and this portal network links between other suns or stars. So, like besides planetary stargates, there's also sun stargates, galactic stargates, universal stargates. So, for example, on our planet, like the natural portals, they're set up on the axis and so of Earth. So, and it has to do with also our solar system, and everything aligns, and especially the sun, because these portals use the energy of all the planets, the sun and the Earth. And well, in the innerchristos teachings that this is what we talk about here on Christos Avatar. We also talk about personal biological stargates. That's your own stargates. Every being has a templar, a template, and this is part of your template inside of you, holy ones. Biological stargates in your DNA template, and the chakras, utilizing knowledge of color, symbol, sound, scalar mechanics. You can direct vortices, time portals, stargates, ley lines, free energy systems that are generated through the planetary core that you connect to. You are psychic, you are a being of energy, consciousness interfacing with another consciousness, a planetary consciousness. It could be directed through the focused mind, using the hidden and forbidden sacred knowledge of scalar speak. But we will be discussing such advanced techniques in a future video on Machua. So we have some regulars here, so they know exactly what we're talking about. And besides these natural wormholes throughout our planet and the universe, there have been like advanced, highly, advanced extraterrestrial races, like ancient, way before we came along. So we're not very old compared to some of these races. They developed a synthetic wormhole technology network. So, and that interfaces with the natural portals. of the universes and galaxies and planets and suns. And because once you get in there, you're like connected. But there's all kinds of different energies securing these stargates. So that's why there's actual cosmic wars over these things. There's wars on our own planet with these things, these natural systems and portal systems. It's a huge network now of wormholes. Basically, like you see in the TV series called Stargate SG-1, right? There's a movie Stargate, which actually is disclosure of this technology. And whistleblowers have come out and said this. There are several ancient portal systems that are left behind by several ancient groups that have been found on Earth. And they vary in their sophistication. These are ancient physical devices, just like in the TV show Stargate. And these portals are like spread out all over the solar system, just like the TV show. Um, um, yeah, some of the synthetic portals are like advanced large rings capable of harnessing any source of energy. Like the rings that you saw in the movie and how it was moving and aligning and all this. This is very similar. Like I said, it was disclosure, and they work on like a addressing system. In the movie, they used sacred symbols and stuff, and it was much like the MAC address or the IP address on a computer system, if you're familiar with that. But the more common Stargate is actually like a ziggurat that looks like one of those step pyramids. Excuse me, but which a person can basically just walk up the steps, from any of the four sides, and then the portal would open at the top, because it was flat. They just stepped right into it, and then you see them dematerialize, and if they're coming in, you see them rematerialize. Not instant. It's You see it in the step process. So it's like many of these discovered ancient synthetic Stargate devices have been dug up. Just like in the movie, that's what they found it under the ground. They've been buried here, and wars have been fought over them. We think this war's about that or that war's about that. No, it's about a Stargate. It's about this technology that's in our Earth. And however, but finding them and knowing how to use them, that's a totally different story. That's why they have these resources that we're not aware of. So now, regarding a natural portal system, it doesn't have to necessarily be like attached to the ground. It could be like located like in the sky, or especially like the Bermuda Triangle. I'm sure you've heard of that, because that's when planes fly in. So it's in the sky, portals, so like a plane would just fly in and be gone for a period of time, or maybe fly back or not. So, but this is the case with Admiral Byrd. We mentioned before. He flew over both the North and the South poles, right? And flew through like natural portals there. He was teleported to one of the cities of inner Earth. You would say over the land over of a city of inner Earth. So where secret civilizations flourish within it, and not just one. Like I said, there's many. He just happened to meet one type of people, and he described what he saw. And the North Pole is a Stargate. There are massive Stargates at both poles, and these are like, because look at the planet. It's at the most energized points. So this is a very profound type of a large Stargate. So, but the civilizations of the inner Earth, they exist in another dimension, in the 3.5 dimension, which is a time continuum that's between dimension 3, dimension 4. And so, right, not exactly in the middle. It's this, but this means this is outside of our reality. Inner Earth is outside of our reality. So this means it has nothing to do with being like actually like down inside the Earth. What people are visualizing, that's what we're trying to. This is a distortion. So because it's actually just it's another version of Earth. This is where the confusion starts, because people are generally thinking that the inner Earth is somehow related to something down inside our Earth, but it is Earth at a different dimension, the same world but in a different time period, and approximately 2,213 years is the in the future. So it was originally called the inner Earth because, well, one must like travel through the Earth's external portals, downward through the Earth into the like dimension 2, because there's 3 levels of Earth: dimension 1, 2, and 3. Our Earth is dimension 1, 2, and 3. So now we're going down, okay, into that's the Earth's morphogenetic field. Then into dimension 1, the iron core crystal in the center of Earth. So, and in order to emerge within the 3.5 frequency level of where Agartha exists, that's what you need to do. There's a process. So it's not in the Earth, but you have to use portals to get there, you have to reach the portals that will take you to the inner Earth. If you're trying to get there, I guess you would say that, but you realize these are protected. So now those portals still exist, and some people have accessed them. There's books written about their experiences, but however, because of the secret space program and their artificially like created network of portals, there are now many more ways to access, like access points to the inner Earth. So in order to get to inner Earth, you would need to use these planetary dimensional stargates. So it's like, you could also use your personal biological stargates, but honestly, you would need to be highly evolved with several activated chakras. And doesn't mean you can't do it. You can activate your chakras. You can go on a spiritual path. You can develop yourself, holy ones. Now, or you could also use advanced builder race technology if it were available to you. Because that's, like it's available to the secret space program. That's what's going on there. So they have all this access because of that. It's like we talk about the secret space program on this channel, and we also have something called parallel Earth, and it's also another version of Earth, and there are also what you would call adjacent Earths, as well as phantom Earth. All of these exist in different time periods, like simultaneously. That's maybe sometimes hard to understand people, but when you start understanding everything's made in dimensions, then they're happening at the same time. Then you start to understand a lot more of these spiritual strange concepts. And you need to access portals to get to inner Earth. And to understand this more clearly, please watch my Structures of Reality video, like in the YouTube channel. If you check my channel, you will find that. And I'll also leave links in the description of this video. But when we mention the secret space program, it means it's a secret. To most ordinary civilians, that the United States most governments in the world are part of, it's suppressed technologies. We have a hidden history, man. It's a secret government in military operations on Earth. So, it's beyond which, has to do with the development and they're involved with industrializing our solar system. Okay. There are several different whistleblowers who have come forward with testimony of their experiences with the secret space program. This concept seems like impossible for people to understand because you have to have different pieces, different complex things that you have been interested in that brought you this awareness, that brought you this knowledge. So, the only reason I'm mentioning this is because some of these whistleblowers have brought us information about inner Earth and how to portals and stargates are used to access this version of Earth. That's what it is. It's another version of Earth, and you use these wormholes and stargates to get there. And there's races creating mechanical, artificial stargates connected to the natural stargates. This is all normal going on, you guys. In the universe, the solar system, in other planets. You can watch that video if you are interested in learning more. And I'll only be mentioning some information here that is related to this video about inner Earth. So, but there's a lot of information that has come from the secret space program. They're called whistleblowers. People who used to work for these programs. Well, they don't agree anymore. They don't like what they saw or were part of. And now we got to tell mankind, or Corey Good or Emery Smith, who talks about visiting the inner Earth in great detail, ranging from contacting highly evolved human and hybrid ET races. extraterrestrials that like have their own like facilities on different parts of the planet. So subterranean groups, and they also talk about like ancient artifacts, the advanced technologies of the secret space program, and also about the different types of, unknown exotic creatures in, wow, plant life that were discovered about 40, miles below the Earth's crust. So it's like we try to show, and like from the diagrams and pictures of how what we're talking about, so you know exactly where it's located. And in the Corey Good testimony, he first talks about what's underneath the Earth's crust in that 40-mile range, and he describes, it being more like a honeycomb of caves, very strange looking, um, porous type, a large network of porous caves, and they range larger than almost like the size of Texas. Huge, huge caverns. Run all the way, to about to the maximum, to 40 miles below the surface, the crust where it goes down to the mantle. And there's a like tunneling system, um, like cave systems, and like even underwater like aquifers they've discovered that you can use like for travel to, the submarines, and go from one part of the planet to the next. And a lot of these like living areas in the earth are surrounded by water. um where you find water, you find life, right? And actually, that the mantle itself is full of water. It's got tons of water, and there's tons more water on Earth than we know of. There's We don't have a problem with water. So it's where did this water come from? Upon it's like open subterranean areas of large, like closed in oceans down there. Some areas are like rivers. The water flows through the mantle. So there are many expeditions down this porous earth, or honeycomb earth area. And these people from the secret space program were looking for like ancient artifacts. They're aware of things, and they have these technologies they see down there, or they get ideas or leads to where to look, right? So, and they found some. They have already found many things down there. And this is a totally different like a ecosystem that developed completely like independent of the surface, where there's, a lot of strange animal life that's unknown. You never heard of these things? I don't know, maybe in some comic books, disclosure, like giant albino newts, some spiders, some, well, different types of insects. And there was like several different types of crustacean things down there. Crustaceans, oh, what's going on? Like shellfish and lots of different fish that actually didn't even have eyes. There was all kinds of different types of, like fungus, and there was lichen, or bacteria that was giving off light, giving off like this luminescence. They glowed like they gave off this their own light. So it was actually it made it easier to see down there. Because you would think like if you go down 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 in some caverns, it should be pretty dark. So yeah, it was without these special plants glowing, right? It was pitch dark if you didn't have them around, so it was very dark. And in those instances, of course, they used like special like night vision, that fun military stuff, right? Lots of lighting and things like this, and they had drones and robotic devices. They don't mess around. They came with them to assist in like these explorations. But for the most part, it's like this atmosphere. It's like a type of glowing. What do you say? They say bioluminescence. It's a chemical, and like think like if you're in, like the heavy fog rolls in, right, and you're completely immersed in this fog, and it's around you. Now imagine all these like moisture particles, right, and or pollution particles. Just imagine they're actually glowing. Okay, so everything is illuminated from a cloud, and So I don't know the exact science behind that, but that is that is what the technicians witnessed at these secret space program people who are going down, scientists, excuse me. But this is what they witnessed, and there are different animals down there, like a small lizard type of creature that was, but it was very intelligent. They were well compared to like a caveman intelligence, but they were very dangerous. These little guys, and they hunted in small packs, and they used these like rudimentary kind of tools, and but there was also like a um primitive type of well it's like a humanoid, I guess, and a little bit of a hair, almost bald. And I'm probably going to show you a picture on the screen or something. And he kind of had this large eyes, or kind of a large head. um I guess they were considered like a lower caste system. I mean, that's how they described them, uh our, of our system compared to our civilization. But they were pretty much albino-ish. You don't get a lot of sunlight down there, right? So there were also like these it's hard to understand or believe, but there were raptors down there, like you see Jurassic Park, that supposedly are remnants of the dinosaurs, and that they've been there since before humans, of course. Can you imagine? uh, so they're closer to like birds than they are reptilians, but they kind of look like both. Um, well, there's some kind of divergence, mixture, together, like bird and reptiles. So they look kind of dinosaurish, but they have these weird, like scaly feathers, and or plumes of different colors, and they're highly intelligent beings. They like move around. They're real jerky, like you see birds, little birds and the big birds. But it's kind of like birds, so they kind of like jerk around when they move, and they're very quick, very dangerous, if you can imagine, and you know how big they are, and they're moving super fast. They're carnivorous, so they got the like needle sharp teeth, like well, similar to reptilians, but I mean, like, there's not an actual beak. Um, the raptors, like, if you Google and look at raptors, they look very much like that. So, like you see in the um, Jurassic Park series movies, which is pretty cool. And but you understand that they were actually an experiment, an ET experiment on our planet, and so I'm not surprised that there's some raptors down in our Earth. So there's all kinds of ruins, like strange Pueblo kind of building ruins up against like some walls of the caverns. It looked like at one time maybe tens of thousands of people, as some sort, lived down there in ruins. It like trip you out. Like, how did these people like survive? Well, but they found pottery. They found like all kinds of signs of like a more um, primitive life, and but people that had been maybe taken refuge down below. And there was a lot of stuff from the, well, what they were looking for, ancient builder race. You know, have you heard of the ancient builder race, like the elder race, the one of the oldest races, or the original races? There are other groups that have. Well, there's been different ET refugee races. They found evidence of. There's been ancient breakaway civilizations that have lived in different areas, and by now have moved on. They evolved. They went to another realm. So there's a lot of under the ground that were purposely been kept unaware of. So who gives them the right? We are sovereign beings. This is our heritage. We're supposed to know the truth of our reality and world and history. But they said there's reptoids, and that was an ET group that was encountered below the ground. The ones that were described though were black, kind of like tall, very very tall. Not as huge and muscular as some of the other beings you're thinking of, but the skinnier with their heads. They didn't have like big jaws and teeth, like more narrow, like jawed. And but okay, so Emery Smith, he talks about like how they use like special suits. It almost looks like an astronaut suit, sort of, but more trimmed down, and it encloses your entire body, and it's from the secret space program. And man, these things are fascinating. They can even utilize an interactive, like, holographic map of the inner Earth as they're exploring deep in the crust. Remember, we talked about this 40-mile range of the Earth. So, and Emery talks about how he will go down there to collect like the specimens and watch and record like other beings, types of, because they have some amazing equipment, and they were recording beings, kind of covertly, to do it without them knowing, and so this with their special suits, and it makes them like basically completely like cloaked and invisible, and they would wear it, and so the atmospheres also down there were so interesting. They were like iridescent and like, uh, yeah, sometimes like rainbow colored. It was like, what kind of world? It's like Emery had also talked about an advanced technology that they used to see objects deep under the earth, like technology we're not aware of course. We're not told about this technology because, well, I don't know why they don't tell us why. They just don't tell us about this technology. So they use it to use like objects deep under the earth, and like a special they developed like a special radar. It's like a ground penetrating, low frequency, backscattered, like wave pattern device, and it gives you like one of those like volumetric images, and it's about like 400 times better than a CAT scan, so you can actually see what it is, and you can also tell like what type of material that you're looking at. It's very helpful. So with this technology, they have found gigantic pyramids that were like 10 times the size of Giza, here in North America, a very large area, and also a large aquifer kind of like surrounding this pyramids, and it's like very interesting in its own atmosphere. They also discovered like far down around like 3,500 feet, like some giant cube rooms. It's like they were like perfectly cut like cubes. That's like strange. It's not natural, obviously, right? And maybe there's something inside those but cubes, but they didn't have at the technology, uh, like to see or to analyze that. Well, they did try. It just came back unknown. So obviously their equipment is not good enough yet. So, but they found like giant stairwells, like under the ground, in these giant, huge caverns. They were like taking like what did they say, hundreds of acres, like go on for thousands of miles, like steps. What? Oh, okay. Why are they so big and so far, and who used these? So it's like going thousands of feet down, perfect steps. And they also found like large sarcophagi, so they were putting these pieces together in their head. So giant humans, some kind of human, I guess, 33 feet tall. So he also talked about there was this ancient craft, an enormous triangle UFO with like a round top. I think they've talked about this in the UFO, forums and stuff, and that's come out about these triangular. They've come over Phoenix. I live in Arizona. That's, I know, some of my family members saw that, but this was located very deep within the Earth. There's a lot more information regarding the secret space program explorations, which we talk about on this channel, and we'll be talking about in another video. But I also wanted to mention like some of the human and ET races that live in the inner Earth, because inner Earth has for a long time been inhabited by elder race humans, you could call, and from like advanced pre-ancient human cultures, and they once thrived on surface Earth, and but many of these races were involved with and I talk about this. This is a big deal, you guys. This is called the 12 Tribes Angelic Human Race, genetic hybridization experiment. This is where we come from. You would say a higher level of the human is our you would say, our future. So we know what we're going to become. We know, and there's been like 3 seedings already of this project. This is a big project. And the first seeding started about 25 million years ago. So our race history is much more ancient than what we've been taught. And Lemuria and Atlantis are associated with this experiment too, you know, and as well as 10 other races. There's 12 altogether. So this is a grand experiment, and it has to do with fixing our, rebuilding our DNA, our genetics back to our full potential. And what is 12 strand? It's avatar. That's what you are. That's what we are. So we're learning, teaching, learning. I mean, right now, it's like most humans only have three strands activated, 3 DNA strands, and we're working now on our 4th strand of DNA. I talk more about this in my Indigo Children videos, so please watch that, to learn more details. But to learn more about this human experiment, please watch my angelic human race experiment video too. But I will just recap some of the important details in order to explain, who the different inner Earth races are, because we originally have 12 strands of DNA. This is a whole different type of consciousness. That's a whole different type of being. That's 12 consciousness, 12 different races inside of your thought processes, inside your energies, inside of your awareness levels of consciousness. So, it means we have 12 races involved in our genetics. We are hybrids, which includes 7 Earth seeds and 5 starseed, extraterrestrial starseed races. 7 and 5, that's 12. So that's the different races we have. And it is descendants of some of these races that live in the inner Earth. Now, this is the kind of things you don't hear about the inner Earth, okay? For a reason. So, and for a bad reason. Now, many different wars, which resulted in cataclysms, have happened during this great human experiment, such as like erratic weather patterns, like tectonic shifting, climatic anomalies, volcanic activity, like a partial pole reversals. Why not a quick, freeze ice age in there too? And land masses started sliding beneath the waters. So it's like, it's just kind of scary, like great earthquakes rumbling through your planet. Okay, so now these have all happened at different periods of time, and so the inhabitants of Earth were like, of course, driven underground. You want to survive. Where do you go? So a lot of these went under the ground, and many of the cataclysms and wars, taking place on the surface of the Earth, it's gonna make you, if you want to live anyways, for some safety, and there was safety under the Earth there. So the first 3, there was 3 great floods that came and covered 85% of the surface. So so there was also destruction of part of the land masses. Hello, Atlantis. I'm sure you've heard of what happened there. Because of these different cataclysms, most of the human population had fled, but finding exile within other planetary systems. So if you were lucky, I guess, they considered themselves lucky. But however, some of the survivors had sought this shelter and this refuge in the subterranean areas of Earth. So they created like underground tunnel systems, for this purpose during those times. And so like some of the descendants were able to access the Stargates if you have the DNA, which is a whole nother topic. But realize that they would portal them to the future to inner Earth. So, and they were creating prosperous communities there. And inner Earth is considered to be in the future. And I talk about more about this in the Structures of Reality video, that in Density 2 universe, which I describe in detail there. And, so please take a look at that video if you, and so, not only is inner Earth our future time, oh, you say time continuum, there's different years in a time continuum, a time cycle, but they are also in the next evolution of biology and matter In density 1 universe, we are carbon. You've heard that we're carbon based. This is our universe, dimensions 1, 2, and 3. The next density universe, density 2, is dimensions 4, 5, and 6. So in density 2 universe, we are carbon etheric. Not only carbon. Now we've moved up, graduated. It's 50% carbon, 50% silica. It's a much more advanced biology. And so we are taller, like giants, up to 12 feet tall. So people who have been able to access the inner earth have reported such tall races that live there. You might have heard those stories as well. And this also explains how the continents and oceans are different on this future version of Earth. That's what is the inner Earth. This is what we're remembering, Holy Ones. Machua. Now, there's also a much more ancient history of humans that is part of density 2. So if part of us is in density 2, we have a history there. And with some of that human history goes back hundreds of thousands of years, and some going back millions of years ago, if you can resonate with that. What we've been taught. So there are many ancient advanced races that live in the future of inner Earth. Races with much more evolved DNA templates. While most of us on Earth only have 3 strands of DNA. That also tells you what level of consciousness you have. You have this level of consciousness compared to a being with 12. Understand. So while most of us have only 3, the spiritually evolved beings of inner Earth can have up to 24 strands of DNA, up to 48 actually for the indigo type 3s. So such races are the original starseed races that are part of this 12 tribe Turanesium angelic human race experiment, and their advanced DNA became part of this 12 different races that make up the human DNA template. So we have 12 different races in our complete DNA template. 7 Earthseed races and 5 Starseed races. And this is that is our potential. This is what we will someday become. In the future, it has already happened, and now in the present, we are still working on this genetics experiment. And some of this is a big part of the inner Earth. They're all like interrelated. Some of the starseeds and indigo children of inner Earth are helping us. And this is what this is all about. This is what inner Earth is all about. So, this is something special, and you can understand why the truth is being mixed with something called hollow Earth, so you can be thrown off your heritage. So the starseeds and the Indigo Children of inner Earth are our heritage. This is who we will become. The inner Earth represents a big part of our ascension process. And any humans, out there, who have evolved at least 4.5, 4.5, that's strands of DNA. If you have that, you will ascend to the inner Earth. So, however, if you haven't done any spiritual work, I'm sorry, bad news. You haven't done any, you've developed any of your chakras up to at least this 4.5 strand activation, then you will not ascend. You will descend. It's what's called Phantom Earth. Phantom Earth is no longer considered an ascension planet. It's a descension planet. So this is one path. This is one of the paths. If you didn't care, wasn't aware, didn't wake up. So, in the Phantom Earth, in the future of this, that's the descending Earth between, was it like 4230 AD and 6443 AD. The Zetas Dracos Alliance, which are fallen angelic ET races, they've successfully overtaken the human world culture in that time period. Future humans, descendants of the present, present human races, right, live now in a Zeta-ruled society controlled by a frequency fence. holographic insert technology. That sounds like a fun place to be, huh? So it's like these events are taking place now in that future time space coordinate. So by now you should realize how important it is to ascend, holy ones, to develop at least 4.5 strands of DNA so that you can ascend to the future time continuum of inner Earth. This is you're on a spiritual path. You believe that you're going somewhere else. The DNA is an important topic, and you can watch my Ascension video to learn more. Excuse me. You know, because this is a pretty good introduction to the inner Earth. So, well, we'll be making more like different types, more details on the different aspects of the inner Earth. But you guys, I thank you for watching my video. If you want to learn more about the inner Earth, please click on the links in the description of the video. You'll be checking out my website for more information and a lot more and links that will take you into different articles that are related. There's a whole bunch of things to learn. All these different races, over 99 different races, some of the fallen angelic races. It's all there. ChristosAvatar.com, which has more details, more pictures and diagrams. You guys, please like my video. Thumbs up. It's a great blessing for me, and I really appreciate it because this video was a lot of work, and I hope you were informed today. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Why not? Subscribe to my channel. And I just want to say, love yourself. Love others around you. Much respect. Namaste.